Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, over the past few videos, we've had a ton of comments. Some of them, some just general chiropractic questions, some others specific about certain techniques, as well as some legitimate complaints about chiropractic itself. So, we're going to go over all of that, and I am going to disclose to you the number one secret that most chiropractors out there don't want you to know. We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. So before we go into the biggest secret about chiropractic, let me go over a few common themes of the comments over the past few videos. And I want to clarify some of this stuff so that you guys understand where I'm coming from when I make some of these reaction or comments of the videos that we've been watching. So a lot of questions came up about Logan Basic. So let me just describe that very briefly, and we're going to go over some different aspects of chiropractic. And I'm just going to make this as brief as possible. I want to get too deep into the weeds. So, when chiropractic was developed, a lot of the physicians back in the early days really focused on the upper cervical. And what I mean by that is your upper neck, top one, two, three bones, usually C1, C2. There are to this day some chiropractors that only do upper cervical treatments. What I mean by that is if you go into an upper cervical clinic and you've got debilitating low back pain, you've got numbness and tingling shooting down your leg, they're not going to touch your low back. They're only going to adjust you up here. And their reasoning, their philosophy behind that is that if you correct everything up here, the main issue up here, then gravity and everything else will kind of work together to realign the rest of the spine. Well, a guy named Logan came along, and that's where Logan University, Logan College of Chiropractic is named after, and that is the foundation of that college, and developed Logan Basic. Logan Basic kind of did the opposite. They focus on the sacrum or the tailbone and your hips and your lower lumbar area mostly. And their philosophy is, well, if we work on that, that is the foundation of the spine. And if we correct that, then everything else will kind of correct itself along the way. So if you go to a Logan Basic doctor that only does Logan Basic and nothing else, and you've got a splitting headache, they're probably not going to be adjusting up here, at least not in the way that you have normally seen most chiropractors adjust. They're going to focus mainly on the sacrum and the lower areas. And I'll get more into Logan Basic here in just a minute. Um, so there's two completely different sides of the spectrum as far as your spine is concerned. And then a guy named Clarence Gonstead, who is the man, came along and developed the Gonstead technique, which basically said, yeah, you upper cervical guys are kind of right. Yeah, you Logan Basic guys are kind of right. How about we just combine everything and we look at the entire spine as a whole and we treat the entire spine? So that's where full spine adjusting was kind of incorporated. So the beautiful thing about the chiropractic profession is once you get out, you can practice however you want. You can do upper cervical, you can do Logan Basic, you can do Gonstead, diversified. There's tons of different techniques. And I'm not here telling you which one is better than the other or which one's more effective than the other, because honestly, it depends on the doctor, what they are good at, and it also depends on the patient. Sometimes a certain technique works fantastic for this patient, but not so much for this patient. That's why it's not necessarily a cookie cutter, one size fits all. So, anyway, the reasoning that I wanted to go over that and especially Logan Basic is that you'll see in a lot of these videos that I've reacted to or will react to, or even the ones that I haven't, there's a lot of what they are calling Logan Basic, and it's not Logan Basic. It's basically, like I said in a couple other videos, it's just an excuse to play with a girl's butt. If you're going to perform Logan Basic, you have to make contact on the sacrotuberous ligament, which is basically in the butt cheek area. Okay, it runs along the back of the sacrum down to the bottom of your hip bone. So the only way to get to that is to dig your thumb in that area. And I'll put up a little diagram here so you can visually see it as I'm talking about it. So there is a legitimacy to that technique if it's done in the proper way. When the doctor is just down there jiggling the girl's glutes or taking his thumb and putting it in different places where it doesn't really go or where the sacrotuberous ligament isn't located, then that's not Logan Basic. They're just saying it's Logan Basic to give them an excuse to do what they're doing. So another comment that was actually a criticism as well that came up quite frequently was about time spent with the patient. So I was making some comments about these videos being drawn out like 15, 20, 30 minutes long. Look, and I get it, guys. If you're making the YouTube videos, you want the watch time, you want the clicks, you want to play the algorithm. And if you're doing the ASMR, those videos, that aspect of the video does take time. But let's just be honest here. The actual adjustment or the time it takes to perform the adjustment is not very long. And look, when I was first in practice, I tried to make everybody as happy as I possibly could. I didn't have patients lined up around the block. My office wasn't busy. We were just getting started. So I was bending over backwards to try to make every patient happy. But I quickly realized and learned that's not going to happen. Some patients want in and out super quick, some don't. And when I was first in practice, I got to be around different doctors that practice in a lot of different ways. Some were the in and out, you're just in there, boom, 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 on the table, off the table, out the door. Some spent a lot of time with their patient. But here's the thing, like I said, you're not going to make everybody happy. And if you were to take those patients that are used to coming in, getting on the table, getting adjusted, out the door, if you were to put those people in an office where they got to sit in the waiting room for 15 or 20 minutes before they even get to the chiropractor, and then when they get to the chiropractor, it's another 15, 20 minutes talking and shooting the breeze and doing the treatment, that would drive them totally insane. And on the flip side, too, I mean, if you took somebody that's used to that extra special attention and they get a long time with the doctor, if you put one of those in the type of environment where they're in and out real quick, they're going to hate that. So I get the criticism. I totally do. But that's the good thing about being a chiropractor is you can practice how you want. It's also the good thing about being a patient. If you're in an office and you don't jive with how they do things, there's tons of chiropractors in this country, and you can find one that's going to fit what you're looking for. All right, and so this is one of my favorite topics about these YouTube videos and the show that's on Lifetime or the Learning Channel, the Chiropractor Show. That one is one of the worst. If you've not seen that, go watch it. Every single adjustment noise is the exact same. It doesn't matter if it's the patient's neck, upper, mid back, lumbar, knee, whatever. It's all the same piped in noise. It even sounds the exact same. It's just like somebody editing the videos, just pressing a button to make the noise. Now, why I was saying it about certain videos that are quite long and the doctors seem to readjust the neck over and over and over, or they readjust the thoracic spine, the mid back over and over and over. And they keep getting these huge pops over and over and over. Guys, that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. There is a thing called the refractory period where it takes about 20 minutes for a joint to be able to be popped again. Try it yourself. If you're a knuckle popper, pop your knuckles and then immediately try to do it again. It's not going to happen. It takes time. I guarantee you, if you didn't touch your knuckles for about 20 or 30 minutes and then you tried it again, they're probably going to pop again. Now, of course, there are some circumstances where people, their bodies didn't read the textbook and they're going to pop and crack a lot more than somebody else. But as a general rule, if I adjust somebody's neck and then 30 seconds later, 5 minutes later, I try to do it again, it's most likely not going to pop again. And if it does, it's not going to sound just as loud or even louder as it did the first time we did it. So that's my criticism and my hot take on the loudest pops and cracks, all those YouTube videos that are just crunch, 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 pop, pop, pop. And especially, like I said, that TV show. Go back and listen. I'm telling you, it doesn't sound the slightest bit different. I watched like one or two episodes and I couldn't take it anymore. But yeah, it's literally some editor pushing a button every time and it's the exact same noise. All right, so let's talk about the reason that most of you clicked on this video. What is the number one secret that most chiropractors don't want you to know about? Well, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I kept seeing a repeated theme in some of these comments of people complaining about their own chiropractor or some of these videos where they see the same adjustments over and over and over, or they go to their chiropractor and they say it's the same 5, 6, 7 adjustments every single time. Well, some of you may have heard the term the flying seven, and that's a very common term that's thrown around with chiropractic adjustments where you go in and you get to your 2 neck adjustments, your 3 mid back adjustments, and your 2 lower back or hip adjustments. And that's your 7 adjustments. Get in, get out, and you're on your way. People were also saying the same thing about some of these videos that I've reacted to, and they could be, 20, 30-minute long videos, but it doesn't seem to matter what the patient complains about, what they showed up for, neck pain, back pain. The chiropractor still does the exact same visits in the exact same order every single time. So before I jump into the explanation behind the biggest secret, let me just give you a brief overview of my first year as a chiropractor. At the time, it was terrible. I didn't like it. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't like what I was seeing. And I actually bounced around to a few different offices because some were just shady, sketchy. I learned very quickly certain things that I didn't want to do in practice. And at the time, um, I thought it was terrible. I was like, this is miserable. I hate this. But looking back on it, it was actually great because it was a great learning experience. But with that, I got to see several different chiropractors with several different styles, as well as shadowing some different chiropractors. And what I saw was chiropractors that treated their patients very quickly, some that took their time and would do a lot of talking with their patients. I got to see chiropractors that would be able to explain everything extremely well to the patient, whether it was true or not. And I saw some chiropractors that couldn't explain their way out of the paper bag. But at the end of the day, behind all the smoke and mirrors, every single chiropractor performed the exact same adjustments on just about every patient. So, what I mean by that is your complaints, your concerns, your criticisms in the comments about chiropractors doing the exact same adjustments on every single patient, it's kind of true. Now, that's not such a bad thing. Why is it not such a bad thing? Because it works. Guys, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. I've been adjusted by numerous chiropractors before I went to chiropractic college and after. I get pretty much the same adjustment no matter where I go. And that's with guys or docs that have been in practice for 30 or 40 years or new grads. It's all pretty much the same, whether you fluff it up with how you explain what you're doing or if you don't talk it much at all to the patient, it's all pretty much the same. And you can vary your technique by, say, doing a neck adjustment with the patient face up, with the patient face down, with the patient seated and you behind the patient, or the patient seated and the chiropractor in front of the patient. You can do the thoracic adjustment with them face down. You can give them the bear hug. You can do all kinds of different stuff, but we all have the same 24 vertebrae. We all have the same, pretty much the same spine, and there's no reason to come up with some crazy way to adjust the spine. Some of the stuff you see on YouTube is just that. It's for YouTube. So don't be overly concerned with your chiropractor doing the exact same adjustments because it's going to work the vast majority of the time. Now, having said that, if you are going to the chiropractor and you're A, not getting better, or B, God forbid, getting worse, then yes, maybe it's time to try something different with a different technique, a different style, a different therapy, a different modality, or a referral, or something different. That is completely different. If you're not making progress and your chiropractor is still just hammering away the same treatment, then yes, that's a problem. But if you're getting better, stop complaining. It's working. All right, there you have it, guys. The big secret that most chiropractors probably don't want you to know. And I know if any of them watch this video, they're probably not going to be too happy with me. Uh, but seriously, guys, I'm talking to the chiropractors. Let's look ourselves in the mirror. Let's be honest with our patients. There's no need to try to make it something more than it is or less than it is. It's pretty much the same adjustment every single time, but that's okay as long as it's working. And if it's not working, then maybe it's time to try something else. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out one of these other videos, and we'll see you next time.